What is a, so to say, royal road to progressing in life towards happiness, mental health, emotional health, well being, and such? One such road could be called that of insight, meaning gaining true ideas such as are immediately applicable to oneself and very essentially acceding to them volitionally. Meaning, it is not enough to simply, in theory, see something or grant something. I need to consent and say yes to it as it concerns my mind, as it concerns my emotions, as it concerns and implicates me. Let's give some examples to better understand what is meant. We can do a thought experiment. Pick a person out of a hat, from a hat consistent of problematic persons. Meaning, for example, you pick one person out, he or she is a bank robber. Pick another person out, he or she is a big scammer. Another person, a serial thief or arsonist. Somebody else just has bowed out of life, does nothing all day, and says, I can't do anything. I'm too depressed and I'm out of it. Somebody else, narcissistic. Somebody else, interpersonal problems across the board, and so on. Right? So you pick one such person out of a hat, and let's say that then that person was put in contact with a very trained, say, therapist or other kind of counselor, such as could see their situation for what it is and could then uh, clarify for them what is going on, could provide for them sound insights about their situation. So, for example, here's a we picked out of a hat. It's a scammer, right? Somebody that makes their living deceiving other people and profiting off of other people's weaknesses and gullibilities. Until the person is told, you're a scammer. Do you agree or disagree? Now the ball is in the court of that person. He or she here could say, maybe that's what somebody would call me, but I'm not really, that's not the way I see myself. Next question. Are you or are you not treating other people the way that you want to be treated? Here, per expectations, in all likelihood, bunch of excuses. I grew up poor. These people are idiots. They deserve it if they fall for it, and so on. Right, so then the counselor would need to push back and say, yeah, but all the same, would you want that done unto you? If your, for example, mother was elderly and not very sharp anymore, would you appreciate if somebody else just like you scammed her out of her money, which she might have given to you or to your children, to her grandchildren, something like this, and follow some excuse? Yeah, but it's not the same because of this, because of that. So at each such point, right, there's some kind of truth, there's some kind of insight. That's not theoretical. That's not some kind of complicated web of suppositions, just pointing things out. So, for example, we can point out, oh, look, you have a stain on your shirt, right? Something like that. You have a nose, right? And you have a forehead. Pointing things out. And at each such point, the other person then has the opportunity in our thought experiment to agree or disagree. And the agreement we see cannot just be kind of for the sake of getting the other person away from me. Okay, fine, fine. I'm a scammer. I'm bad. I got you. Goodbye. It has to be from the heart, so to say. It has to involve all of our faculties, the will, the emotions, the mind. I have to see it. I have to understand it, and I have to accede to it with my whole self. But we can, in this thought experiment, see how that would be a royal road, if in theory, meaning it would be like a straight and narrow path that would really work. If in theory we picked some such person out of a hat and that person was perfectly compliant and had a perfectly good attitude, which is at least improbable, if not impossible, because then, presumably by definition, they would not be that kind of person. They became that kind of person because of their bad attitude and because of their uncooperativeness with truth. But let's just say theoretically, right? Then that person would be extricated from their situation, or at least would be on the path to so becoming. Right? So again, take the scammer. Are you a scammer? Yes. Would you like that done unto you, what you do to others? No. Is what you do wrong? Yes. Should you stop? Yes. Right? Should you make amends per what's possible? Yes. Should you assume an honest form of making a living? Yes. A person agrees and agrees with their whole heart, right, with their emotions, sincerely, earnestly. That's it. Right? Then the person walks out of there, a new person, and maybe right, they have to reorganize their life. They have to make amends. They have to uh, do certain things and let some time go by. But they're essentially a new person. Their previous devious purpose has broken, has snapped. And individuality, in large part, is determined by, it seems, the purpose that we assume. I'm a child while I have the telos, meaning kind of the purpose of a child. While I have the mentality of a child, then I slowly grow out of that purpose. I slowly assume different purposes and goals, and I become an adult. Somebody that's a criminal has a criminal purpose. Once, if and when that purpose snaps, 20 years in jail, I'm a new person. I'm no longer that person because I have a different purpose. I have a different outlook on life. So if a person acceded to truth, to insight, a number of steps, and their purpose snapped past a certain such step, new person, in theory. In reality, however, as was mentioned, the very poor attitude that would make this only a thought experiment for the most part is that which gets us into our trouble. Right? We have an attitude resistant to truth. We're not interested in reality as it concerns ourselves. We want to feel good. We want to feel like good people. We want to feel successful. We want to avoid feeling small and insignificant and such. And we lie as much as is needed to facilitate our emotional, volitional ends. And that gets us ever deeper in a web, in a bog, in a quagmire of lies, deceit, and such that is ever increasingly more difficult to get out of. And consequently, we see that in reality, when a problematic person is given the opportunity to make amends, is given the opportunity, should we say first, to see something true about themselves, to gain some kind of real insight about themselves. Well, I guess I am narcissistic. I guess I did do this person wrong. I guess I do have poor personal relationships because I'm too loveless, I'm too envious, I'm too jealous, and so forth. The person says, no, get away from me. I'm not interested. I don't want to hear it. The person gets mad at you for saying it. Some such further deceit. This is what we see in the majority of cases. However, in some cases in real life, and eventually after much suffering, a person does accede to some insight. A person says, yes, I am problematic. Yes, I am self centered. Yes, I am selfish. Yes, my problems are because of me. No, my excuses are not valid and were not valid and will not be valid. The idea the person accedes at some point, perhaps to some insight, and that is the beginning of personal growth and change. This is an obvious display in cases concerning overt um, issues and disorders. For example, the person is unfortunately currently abusing alcohol, abusing drugs. There's a good chance he or she denies it. He or she says, no, this is not happening. There's no issues, and it's your fault for getting on me, and so on. As is well known in these circles, first step is admit it. This is what I am, and this is what's going on, and it is my fault, and I take responsibility, or if not fault, who's ever fault, it's my responsibility, and let's go forward from there. The same would have to happen in any sphere of life. Would we make any real progress? So we get the idea. Insight is the royal road to growth, to becoming the people that we ought to be. With that said, insight requires cooperation. I have to concede that I'm wrong. I have to accede, meaning agree, that some given suggestion is indeed so. And we can make the process much easier if we were to learn how to think and learn how to try to see ourselves for what we are, for better and for worse. And instead of requiring perhaps decades of suffering and broken relationships and, excuse me, much less or much worse outcomes in life than could have been if instead we ourselves get motivated to identify insights about ourselves, agree to them, and move forward. So we can consider it. Thank you for listening.